My brothers and sisters, and my beloved confreres, a very hearty welcome to each one of you to this Easter celebration. The Lord is risen. Indeed, He is risen. Glory, Alleluia. May the name of the Lord be praised, who gives us life above death. Victoriously, He stands before us with a sign of hope for the humanity. Jesus is indeed risen. As my brothers and sisters, treading through the Passion Week, we had been hearing a loud cry, El, El, Lama Sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? But just 48 hours after that, we hear a wonderful singing, Glory, Alleluia. He is truly risen. Jesus is alive. Some of the wise men say that the most fearsome day in the life of the humanity is the Holy Saturday. Why so? Because although not from a theological perspective, at least from a poetical and meditative point of view, that is the day God closed His eyes. When God is not there, there is naturally darkness. As we meditated upon the Good Friday, we remembered very well one statement that is made by the evangelist is this: when Jesus died, in the afternoon, there was darkness on the face of the earth. And we must remember, 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the time when the sun shines at the most peak way. But in spite of that, when God closed His eyes, there was darkness in the world. In opposition to that, we would see when Jesus was born in this world, we hear in the midnight there was a bright star to brighten up the whole world. Yes, I believe the focal point of the rise and fall of the humanity is the person of Christ. When human beings encounter God who is alive, He helps us to grow and rise again from the dungeon of sinfulness and darkness. Glory, hallelujah. Jesus is risen. On this Easter night, my brothers and sisters, we are invited to tread through the history of Christianity. God's own walking with us is well celebrated. All the 5 readings which we have read today from the book of Genesis, from the book of Exodus, from the book of Prophet Ezekiel, and from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans, and today the Gospel of the Vigil Night from Matthew the Evangelist. All these readings very clearly invite us to understand one focal point. The history of humankind is glory and lost glory and regained glory. A 3-dimensional understanding of our life. Yes, it is glory, lost glory, and regained glory. Think of that experience of the glory of God revealed before the humanity. God, in His love and in His passion for the human being, created humanity and man and woman in His own image and likeness. Yes, when we read the genealogy of Jesus later, as presented by Matthew the Evangelist at the very outset of his Gospel, we find these 3 dimensions well nuanced therein: glory, lost glory, and regained glory. From Abraham to David is the time of glory. A wonderful revelation of God's goodness through these persons. But thereafter, human beings who are created in the image of God lost touch with that reality of their life and lost their glory that God had given to them. We see from David to the Babylonian exile, there is this aspect of the lost glory well narrated. But thereafter, God again in His mercy and compassion gives back that glory to the human being from the Babylonian exile to the person of Christ, redeeming humanity by giving His own Son to undergo the passion, death, and the resurrection that we experience today. Yes, my brothers and sisters, how wonderfully God takes charge of our lives in spite of the fact that we are most often not showing fidelity to God and to humanity. That's where the celebration of the Easter becomes much more important for us, once again to evaluate our own human dimension from the divine perspective of the resurrection of Jesus. As we read the Gospel of Matthew today, we see here two women going to the tomb of Jesus. And that is on the Sabbath day, early in the morning. And we know these two women are well named there. Mary of Magdala and the other Mary, most probably Mary, the wife of Cleopas. These two were going there to visit the tomb of Jesus. Naturally, they have had their own fear inside. Who will open up the tomb for us? But as they reach there, they see some extraordinary signs of God's presence. There is an earthquake. There is the presence of an angel of God coming into their midst, who comes forward and removes the stone which is in front of the grave. And there comes the announcement that the Lord is no more here in the tomb. He is risen again. But they are not left without a commission. And the commission is this: go back to Galilee. Yes, my brothers and sisters, the experience of these women was very important in order to continue that witnessing dimension of the gospel. We know only those who have experienced Christ can speak about Christ in their lives. Who were these women? They were the ones who had followed Him in Galilee. But when He climbed the Mount of Calvary, the Mount of Lovers, they never resisted to stop their experiential understanding of the person of Christ, went with Him to the top of Mount Calvary. And that's where we see one very special thing happening here. And that is, most of the time in the history, when the most important thing happens, it is the women who were present to witness that happening. But still, Jesus does not leave His disciples away. You would see one very special thing happening here. As these women were returning to the disciples to tell them of the good news that the Lord is risen, Jesus Himself comes in front of them, making once again their experiential faith relevant for their lives as well as the lives of the humanity thereafter. But what touched me the most there is this. Jesus tells these women, go and tell my brothers that they should meet me in Galilee. No more disciples, no more friends. They have become the brothers of Jesus, blood relations who have eaten His body and drunk His blood and shared His lifestyle in their own. Yes, my brothers, my sisters, I see a wonderful experience of God here by these women who become the bearers of Christ for the rest of the humanity thereafter. There is a third day experience here. All of us are well aware. This is a word that is well used in the Bible. Third day. Jesus rose again on the third day, it is mentioned. And St. Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, in the chapter 15, verse 4 would say, He died and he was buried. And on the third day, he rose again to save us from death. Yes, my brothers, my sisters, I believe we all should have a third day experience in our own lives. If we tread through the Bible, we would find 6 times, very specifically, this concept of the third day being used. And the very first time, foundationally, it comes in the book of Prophet Hosea, chapter 6, verse 2. It says, He will revive us to life on the second day, and He will raise us up on the third day in order to make us to live for Him. You know the story of Hosea. He had such a pathetic, painful experience of his own life, even to that extent of marrying a prostitute. But in spite of that, he says, in all my sufferings, my God would be there. We see the 5-time repeated third day experiences in the gospel. The very first one is Jesus is lost in the lives of Mary and Joseph for 3 days. And on the third day, he was found. Yes, even after having that loss experience in their life, when they were daring to return to Jerusalem to seek for him, they found him as a new life of their life. Yes, my brothers and sisters, the resurrection of Jesus must help us to return to relationships which are broken. Even in our own mobiles, there may be many blocked numbers. Perhaps a time for us today to reopen those relationships which are lost. A second aspect of the third day that we would find in the Bible is the mention that on the third day there was a wedding at Cana. And you know what happened on the third day of that wedding in Cana? The wine was over. The most bubbling aspect of a wedding feast is the wine. And when that soul dimension of the celebration is lost, they will never be able to find life there. Jesus participated in that wedding feast in order to give them a new life. You must give a new soul to humanity, which is rid of soul dimension. A third aspect of this third day dimension we find in the gospel is Jesus himself saying, destroy this temple. In 3 days' time, I will raise it up. Your body is not a simple matter. It has that temple dimension. And that exactly is the celebration of the Eucharist. When the Lord, on the last day, he was with his disciples, took up the bread and the chalice and told them, this is my body, the temple in which you will dwell now onwards. Eat it and drink it. Yes, giving life to others through our own templeness, the bodiliness of our life, is the most effective aspect of Easter. And the fourth, third day experience narrated in the Bible is Jesus repeating that statement about Jonah. Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days. So will the Son of Man be under the earth for 3 days. Yes, a purposeless experience of Jonah in his own personal life. He didn't know where to go. He was told to go to Nineveh, but he was on his way towards Tarshish. Yes, that exactly is the lack of purpose in life. When God is not there, we lose control of our life. Can we once again refine the purpose of our life and give life to others as well? And finally, we find he will rise again on the third day. Easter is the greatest revelation of God for a renewed lifestyle for each one of us. My brothers and sisters, these experiences of the third day and the revelation of Christ through his resurrection to each one of us should rejuvenate each one of us to come back to that glory dimension of our life. Yes, death has no more sting over us. Jesus is risen. Glory, Alleluia. I wish each of you a very happy Easter. Amen.